Welcome to Exploring the Metaverse, where we explore the depths of virtual and augmented reality in the ever-expanding metaverse and how it applies to regular people. In this episode, we speak with CEO John Morris of YouAreNowhere.com, the innovative face-to-face video chat metaverse delivering the most realistic feeling of being present in a shared experience online. It's a platform for hosting live music events, comedy, NFT galleries, and more. Guys, I experienced this with John live for this interview, and I can tell you firsthand, it was truly something I have never experienced before, and I really enjoyed it, and I really hope you're going to enjoy this interview. This conversation was so exciting, so promising, and I really think you're going to enjoy this one a lot. So here we go. Enjoy the interview. So Mr. John Morris, CEO of Nowhere.
How are you?
Very, very well, thank you.
Good to hear you.
You too, man. This is awesome. Yeah. Before I get ahead of myself, like, tell me about yourself, John. Like, how did we come to be in this literal crystal cave?
You know, Superman is a powerful movie. That was the inspiration for this cave. But I think, more particularly, my background is I was a clown at Cirque du Soleil and a performer in the show Forza Bruta. So I have a theater background.
Wow. Okay.
That led to, a lot of immersive and interactive shows and pushing the boundaries with those companies and other theater companies and seeing what magic could bring when you get performers close to an audience.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was looking as my own work and creating as an artist, a way that I could bring that magic outside the walls of theater and into unexpected places. And so I started an arts collective called the Windmill Factory in 2009 in New York City. And we just started making work. Our first project, we built a massive slide at Burning Man that had, we taught aerial theater underneath it. And then it was like a skinned in AstroTurf and became the most dangerous installation in Burning Man history and one of the favorite. We recreated the night sky on the Hudson River. We, did 9 Inch Nails festival tours. We did, design shows for Metric and Fantagram and a lot of big bands. And then that collective grew into a company. And that was the last 13 years of my creative journey. And during the pandemic, when all of that work was stopped by isolation and all live experience was shut down, we started looking at ways we could conceptually start to bring our work into a digital forum and have that same deep and exciting connection that we have with humans in our pieces, but connect it to a global audience and really start to solve both where's the bar online and why can't I be with my friends right now?
Right? I feel moved by this experience. I've been using technology since about 1988 with my original NES, and I've been an avid technology enthusiast of different avenues, and to meet you on a web browser in this incredible 3D space and to feel wowed and to feel awe and a bit of excitement is actually shocking. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't expecting it to be this cool.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
That's amazing.
And it is. It's pretty crazy when you think about, especially when we just had this World Builder Awards ceremony last night, where we had all these different world builders around the world building these really cool entertainment venues. And then at the event, we had Ira Glass and Pico Velasquez and Jay Scheib, these top, 3D designers judging the competition. And then we had performers. We had a stand-up comedian, a magician, and a singer. And people from all around the world exploring these various venues, bouncing in and out, huddling in different conversations with the spatial audio, so you can have up to 150 people in one environment socializing and flowing between conversations, going
really
to
being
see
at a cocktail party.
Yeah, exactly. And at like a festival, and that's what is crazy thinking about the web browser. Like we're in a web browser right now. We're in a web page.
It's so accessible. I don't need $1,000 VR rig here to jump in. I use my Google account, click like any other web page, and bada bing, here we are.
Yeah. And that was really important to us too, is like accessibility and really making it as easy for people to drop in as possible, because a lot of people, when they think about the metaverse and they think about, 3D technology, they go immediately to VR, and then it's like, it's a slog, it's powerful and it's immersive and it's really beautiful, experience. But like most people don't have the gear or the time, or it just takes away the humanity too.
Yeah,
So when
yeah,
you
yeah.
strip away that, but you keep the 3D engine, you're able to like jump, spin, have the spatial audio, feel like you're, inside. Well, you are inside a video game, but also have the human present. Like you and I are looking at each other face to face.
Yeah.
Like now we
I
feel
think
like
it's
we
like
know each other.
yeah, absolutely, and it feels like it's so many things. Like, what do you say this is? Like, what would you define this experience as? Because, like, to me, it's not augmented, it's not really virtual. It's sort of like a hybrid experience in a way.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one that I've had trouble naming projects my whole life or describing them because they often get really multi-layered,
Yeah.
and so my best, I think the best description that we come up with is, it's a it's a 3D metaverse on a browser where you can be face to face with your friends in live video.
And that's
And
exactly what this is. Like,
yeah, and a lot of times people, even balk at that because the word metaverse trips people up. So we often just say it's like, it's like being in Zoom, but you're in a video game and you can drive around and talk to different people in the same space.
yeah, what a good way to put that. And that's really the whole reason that I started this podcast, was to really try to break down that question. What is the
Hmm.
metaverse? I'm, like I said, I'm interested in technology, and I've been, following the industry as a, pretty interested individual, and
Yeah.
I can't clearly find that answer myself. Does Zuckerberg get to decide what the metaverse is? Does another big company get to decide? I mean, I think it really is still yet to be defined in a sort of a final sense. And so then really, I think, who do you think that this, like, who's the sort of target audience for this kind of experience? I can see so many applications, but what is you and your team, who are you really targeting as the kind of groups or people that you think would really best be suited to be the first, sort of adopters of this technology?
Right now, what we're seeing, and I think it's because of our expertise and our background within entertainment, but we're seeing a big draw from musicians and artists, who want to bring their fan communities together. And there's certain, performance features, like I can amplify up and now I'm bigger, my voice goes further in the space. I
Oh
can
yeah,
even go
yeah.
into this like god mic mode. And
And
then
I have to
there's
look
also
up like, oh, there's
yeah,
John. Oh,
there's also, you don't see it, but there's screen share in every environment. So I can actually take my video pod and I can throw it to a 16:9 massive screen in the sky, which is upstairs in this venue out hovering over space. But
yes.
those performance features where, I can become like basically take a large stage and then have 150 people live in front of me that I can hear and respond to with the spatial audio.
I feel
So
that it resonates so deeply within me, having been a gamer for so much of my life. I played World of Warcraft, a well-known title,
nice.
and the monsters are bigger than everything, right? These
Yeah.
these gigantic, bigger than life, and that is part of what I think draws people into that kind of experience. That it's something you can't get in the regular world.
Yeah. And it's also, I see, we're so early in the metaverse and, conversation, and I think it's going to take many years to have it define itself, as there's different interpretations and everything. It's like trying to define the internet in 1988, you know.
Yes,
it's
and
like
and
it's like,
yeah,
I think, in 10 years we're going to know like, oh wow, the metaverse became that, or what about this? Would have never thought that was coming.
isn't that
um
the truth? Yeah,
but I
people
think
back then might have said, an interconnected series of not some very technical definition, but nowadays
totally.
it's like, oh, the world being connected, and there's more of a humanity to it, more of a personalization,
And I
or
think
personification.
that for us is the most core important part of this journey, is making sure that it's human centric. Because when I think about a future of the metaverse where it's all, cartoon avatars, and it those they're fun and they're super exciting for video games, but when you get into socializing
Yeah.
and business cases and, artists wanting to be close with their fans, like the personas actually create an anonymity which creates negative behavior choices. And I'm sure that you've experienced this in
Oh
technology
yeah.
platforms, where, an avatar is putting out a cigarette in somebody else's faces, and it's just like there's behaviors that happen when you have avatars that are just very different than when you're face to face in live video.
Yeah, and I think that really hits on that point of of it being for everyone, because when you can't
Mm,
hide as clearly behind that that invisible wall, you do get that kind of more realistic social feeling. I mean, just feeling like seeing you walk into this room initially upon meeting you, it was like, oh, there he is. There he
yeah,
is. Not there it is.
right.
It really was like, oh, there's a guy coming at me. I mean, I see you very clearly, then I can hear you. It's like, I can't believe it. Right?
And I think
So yeah.
especially early for in this journey with the metaverse too, for adoption, you need technologies that work, you
Yeah.
know, and this works really fluidly, and it has so many different wide use cases. You really need that for adoption. You need something super accessible that you just drop into and that you see the value immediately where you're like, oh wow, we're in a video call,
I
but
couldn't
we've
agree
got
more.
a but we've got play and adventure, we can perform in here and we can connect it to our fans in a deeper and
Yeah.
exciting way or our colleagues.
And how do we protect people? How do we prevent those kind of toxic behaviors? I mean, obviously, we've discussed a little bit of it. And how do we continue to, or hopefully, guide this type of environment to be a safe place for people? Because I think that's really important these days. And how do we protect, the vulnerable from this kind of predatory behavior that does tend to crop up from time to time?
It's a great question, and I think it's one that we'll be working on the entirety of this platform and this journey. So
Yeah.
currently we've focused on moderation for hosts. Any host can kick and block people out, and then pretty soon players will be able to report bad actors. And so it's a big concern of ours, obviously, because of what's happened in big tech and big social. And
Yeah.
also look at our cities. Like we haven't figured out in our cities. Like, like yesterday, a woman pushing a stroller with her baby in it in New York City got shot, just cold blooded,
Uh,
like 4 p.m. And these are things like there's there's always going to be that struggle when you have a mass scale. Like in a mass
yeah.
city like New York City, you have troubles. We have police forces, we have park rangers, we have like all kinds of things to help you know, moderate, but it's always going to be, something at scale that you have to
Yes.
be attentive to. So,
And when we don't force those cities to achieve 100% success rate, and I wonder at
no,
what point the digital world is almost held to a higher standard than reality, and will we be able to find a bit of a balance there? I think with moderation tools and education, and setting the groundwork in a sort of a positive way up front, and it really feels like that's what you guys are doing here. It seems like this is the kind of environment that can be molded to meet all people.
yeah, I mean, we're definitely trying our best. The project that Windmill Factory was working on right before the pandemic hit was actually it was a launch of a nonprofit called New Public, created by Eli Pariser, who wrote The Filter Bubble. And that project was really looking at how can we create healthier digital spaces online. So right before building this, building Nowhere, we spent 5 months researching this topic and really
Wow.
trying to get top platform engineers and top city planners and architects together to see if there could be an evolution of design that makes healthier spaces online that really helps support healthy interactions between people, that doesn't like have revenue models that are creating mental health crises and therefore we're trying, and it's a core mission of ours.
That's awesome. I really think that that's awesome. And there's only, I mean, people are people. There's only so much you can predict, and we just kind of have to
Yeah,
roll with these things as they come, right? How has the big tech companies, the big players, if you will, the Facebook, Googles, Microsofts, and such, how have they responded to this project? I couldn't help but notice the Google logo there in one of the rooms when I entered the
yep,
main lobby. How's things
yeah.
going with them?
Yeah, good, good. They're very receptive. Google actually did it was basically like a research team from Google looking at the future of events, and they love Nowhere, and they're actually planning on using it in the fall for a large event as well. And also Salesforce uses it for team meetings and like bonding. And I
Yeah,
think on the corporate side, that's a big use case for Nowhere, because I think more than any other platform that I've seen, you really feel present with others, and it really feels
100%.
fluid. And when you have 25 people plus in here, it really starts to feel like a cocktail party or a mingling session, or so thus far it's been very positive in
That's
reception.
incredible. I'm really happy to hear that, because when you have that sort of I can't think of the right word, when you have that symbiotic sort of relationship where each each is able to thrive. We have a kind of a win-win scenario. Not that we're in direct competition, because of course, those guys they're big, strong companies, right? And
Totally.
to be stepping on the wrong patents or the wrong places could be very disastrous for any company, right? And
Yeah.
I'm so impressed by what I've experienced. Like I wish I wish I was doing a video of this, because it would be
Yeah.
perfect. This really kind of
Yeah.
inspires me to continue to maybe record video for the future.
Yeah, you got to start doing live podcasts. We haven't
Yep.
had anybody doing live podcasting in nowhere yet, and
I
yet,
certainly could. I'm not here to promote anything else that I do, but I am a live broadcaster on YouTube, and
yeah,
I have 3-4 hour long live broadcasts all the time,
there you go.
and I think it's absolutely incredible. So, like, okay, so step into a little bit of a different direction. How do you see the government? The big body of government and the oversight and the sort of policies that have been coming forward. Now, I'm not sure where you're located. I'm speaking sort of from a North American. I'm in Canada, but typically I find most of big tech is centered around the United States, given
Hmm.
the fact it's sort of in my opinion, the heart of the entire matter. How do you think that the government oversight, the political landscape is moving, and is it favorable for the development of a project like this? And what kind of challenges or maybe support do you see from that side of things?
I mean, it's a tough question at this time in the United States, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's with the Supreme Court's decision last week, and it's really put everybody on kind of a, a shaky ground of thinking about this, because if something that we held as a hallmark of freedom for women's rights for 50 years, is just pulled out in an effort that's been many years underway, and then with today even the EPA getting gutted, it's like um, it's a it, it's a very shaky time that makes you realize, like, okay, we've always been building for data privacy and our players in mind in nowhere, so it's not too much of a change for us as far as that goes, because we're not storing any data that is would be detrimental to them. So and we plan to stay that way
so I
and
feel
keep
like you were
our.
just using the Google API to bring me in today.
Yeah, that is true, for OAuth. But as far as like the video calls and the data that we're collecting,
Mhm.
we're trying to be as forward thinking as possible about that, so that we're not in the position where anybody can subpoena us for data and
Yeah,
and
you're not a
come
rogue
after us.
company.
you know but it's a tough position for a small company, where all your effort is going into just building the product, and really satisfying the needs of the players and what they're wanting, and those things are often, I think that's why big tech companies have gotten into hot seat with it, because but I also think it's a lot about the revenue model, right? So our revenue model is looking to microtransactions and subscriptions, which is
Sort of like
not.
the mobile gaming industry.
Exactly. So we're aligned with creators and what they're creating, so that we're building for experience. We're building for, like, you want to shoot fireworks, you want to, tip the performer, you want to, pay a ticket to enter. You want skins on your pod, you want to, all the fun things, and the, kind of like a Discord Nitro, where you're
Absolutely.
paying for fun,
If you
and so
motivate
that.
the creators, you have an infinite supply of content.
Yeah, and that aligns our building goals with theirs. If they want expressions, we want to create for fun and our strength, So not an advertising model that gets to be extractive, where, you're really looking at, eyeballs and attention, and because I think that leads to really, a lot of, data scraping, data collection, data needs
I
to
mean, we
then.
are here, yeah, face to face. You can see the person's expressions and hear their voice, and there really is a valuable trove of information over time that can be gathered from these experiences.
Yeah. And that's it. It's one thing. I'm glad you bring up that question, just because I think it's one that all tech companies should be really looking at closely.
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
with the
I
changing
want you to
government
win.
today.
I want to be experiencing this many years from the future. I could see myself,
Totally.
having a gathering with my friends or my family, or like you said, going to some sort of a public event. And I think this is the most like compelling and really accessible accessible metaverse type experience that I could possibly imagine. And to know now that this exists, I am really happy to go forward and talk just to my regular colleagues and friends in my day-to-day life about, wow, you guys, did you know this is happening? Like I
Nice.
imagine this sort of thing, and I think it's incredible. So, like, what are your big challenges right now? I mean, I'd like to, of course, paint a rosy picture, and everything I've seen is incredible. But of course, with all good comes some bad. Like, what are the big things you're working through right now to continue to push this forward?
I think it's the biggest challenge is building fast enough. You know, is
Everybody's
there's
got ideas, right?
yeah, there's so much to build and there's so much excitement because, especially when you fuse three massive things together: gaming, video chat, and social.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about like we're trying to build three platforms at once. So then you have like all these ideas coming and so much possibility in so many different directions business wise too. That's really the biggest challenge is like, you know, uh,
To
the
scale without running
discussions.
out of money.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the other challenge I think too is just really making sure we're close to the players using the product and making sure we're serving them and being able to deliver a great experience. The other thing that still remains tricky, I think, with browser-based metaverses is that, you're on the internet. There's a limitation of bandwidth. There's a
Yes.
limitation on, you're serving, you know, a million different types of devices, and you don't have the ability to just like, you know, grab their camera and their mic easily,
No, not always.
so
Like,
like
I'm on
even
a high end build, but that's not the way it is for everyone.
yeah, exactly. And we want to be, we're in talks. We have a lot of Brazilian users, and it's like we want people to be able to have just a mobile phone, a simple
Yeah.
mobile phone, and be able to
I can
drop
see
in
the
and have an
kids,
experience.
the
And
university students, everybody here.
totally, yeah. And so it's a challenge to be building for that wide of a, of a device range on the
That's such a
browser.
good problem to have, if you ask me. Try to keep that focus narrow because you know that there's so many incredible opportunities to build upon. It's like building a
Totally.
roadmap for the future. This quarter, this team, that guy, this everybody just on firing on all cylinders. Like this is the most promising, like I want to call it kind of grassroots metaverse approach that I could possibly imagine. And
Nice.
so, how do you think? How could people get in? How can people experience this right now? Is there open opportunities?
Yeah, there's continuous events from our community that are listed in the app. You can find those also on our website, youarenowhere.com, the letter U R and then nowhere.com. You can also grab your own free space and host up to 50 people just
Oh,
right
wait a
in
second.
seconds.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't mean to cut you right off. So I have a YouTube channel, right? And I
yeah,
would love to get my viewers, especially
yeah,
I have a core of most dedicated fans and listeners and viewers that have
yep.
been, with me for almost 3 years. I could literally host an event and we could just kind
Today.
of hop in and oh wow, this
Yeah, and you can select between. I think we have about 12 environments
that's
that are
amazing.
just right out of the
Any golf
box that you can
courses?
select. No golf courses yet, but that's a great idea.
Sounds very corporate. I could see a lot of, a lot of guys being down with that plan.
That'd be really
Wow,
funny.
this
Golf
is
and
the
chat.
coolest thing. I can't believe. I think that your theatrical and artistic background, when I look at this space, it reminds me of being in the boss fight room of a large gaming environment. We've fought our way through all the smaller bad guys, and now we're here at the big bad boss room. And this
Uh-huh.
is like the crystal boss, and I feel like some like worm is going to erupt from the floor and we're gonna have to start attacking him together. And I could see that being one of the next steps, right? Playing virtual gaming experiences right here in a browser.
Totally. And I think that's also a big push for us. We're built on a game engine and we haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible within this space as far as when you get to like what games are super fun when you get people face to face in live video, as we're
MMOs.
Yeah. Yeah, and with infinite exploration and collecting items and
Yeah,
objects, and,
because you could have
it's
procedurally generated areas that are refreshing
totally.
in sort of a constant state. Like the possibilities are truly endless. It's and I
Yeah.
understand how you say your big challenge there, and in really focusing that growth and development in a manageable and productive manner moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you did mention that there is a list of events that when you log in you can see, and I did see that in the lobby. There's the different
Mhm.
I want to call them rooms. What's the terminology that you're
Spaces.
spaces? There we go. That's a
Yeah.
good, but similar to
Yeah.
very very similar.
Yeah,
Well, that's amazing.
essentially the product's broken into, you can have your own venue, which we call a station, which is a collection of spaces.
Yeah, yeah. That's incredible. Well, I know for certain that I'm interested in being, a host of an event in one of these incredible spaces. And is there a cost to the either the users? Is does, like the host can host a space, or this is how do you how do you stay afloat? How do you continue to move forward with the development as far as the revenue generation?
Currently, it's all private contracts with companies, and
Okay.
on the player side, we're trying to keep it free,
Yeah.
and then drive to the microtransaction future.
Oh
So
yes.
that
Okay. So to
so for now, it's free for up to 50 people, and then for larger contracts who want multiple spaces for thousands for
yeah.
larger corporates, then we do deals with them, and we do a custom contract.
That seems so reasonable. It seems so like
Well,
user friendly. I mean, wow, is this real?
it's well, we know we built this at a time when everybody was globally isolated, and we wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that people were able to access it as a tool. And also, if we align ourselves with our players, and we get them in and active, and then we learn from them what they want within the app, we can learn like, oh, okay, these type of microtransactions are the ones that they want, and we can build alongside with them, and then have a revenue model that's much more
Yeah, I already
sustainable.
want a special border around my picture, John. I see your it's
Yeah,
at the 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 sided shape there around your video.
there you
I'd
go.
like to have like a special gold border with maybe some kind of like diamonds or crystals sticking out of it to indicate
Totally.
how you know how invested I am in this experience, and
Yeah,
to maybe something to demonstrate the amount of time that I've been in. Maybe you should have
yeah.
the founder frame around it, right? I'm sure you guys have talked about something like that already.
Totally. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and don't stop there. You can have your own little vehicle, you
Yes.
can have your
Yes,
own
yes.
customized, like, you've got a tiger, and your head face opens, and then your video's there, and then you drive
Yes.
around your little tiger head.
Yes, because the movement is already quite fluid for something like this. Does it
Yeah.
work on all browsers? I'm using the Chrome browser right now. Any
Yep.
technical limitations for people that they should be aware of if they want to jump on from their access device?
You just don't use Safari.
Yeah, okay. That's
All the others are good. Firefox, Brave, Chrome, any Chromium
okay.
browser. So
That's awesome.
Chrome is really the best. They've done the really big pushes to get 3D on the browser working
Yeah.
well, and
I
Firefox
mean,
as well.
yeah, the install base of it, you can't go wrong. It's
Yeah.
certainly world renowned. Is there any big key points that I'm missing out on, John? Because I really would like to know,
The Our biggest push right now, is just getting adoption, getting people like excited to use it and get in here. We spent a lot of kind of table stakes technology development, and now we're at the point where we're really starting to push this out. And so I just encourage all your listeners to jump in, get a free space, try things, do a
yeah.
birthday party, put your art gallery in there, host an event, get a family gathering. And then if you are a person who hosts events, it's a great place to gather your community. You can also have content coming out of nowhere that's beautiful, because the beautiful environments that then you can share on socials and build an audience. And then the last thing I'll say is that we're driving for the launch of our entertainment district,
Okay.
which is going to launch September 21st, and our season 1 will be September 21st through November 9th. And this is a really exciting time, because we're going to have all these incredible musicians and artists who are gathering at that time, bringing incredible experiences and worlds, and it's going to be really electric. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be really, really awesome.
Wow. I don't want to say this is my favorite metaverse experience or anything, but this is my absolute above and beyond most I'm just most wowed. I've used a few headsets, I've entered a few different worlds, and they're cool, but I felt it was not quite there for me. Didn't meet my expectations, but this has blown them out of the water.
Oh,
Like
that's
when
awesome
I
to hear.
read the emails and talked to and read the details, I was like, okay, maybe, but these guys, I don't know. But wow, guys, you
That
and your team, like hats off. Absolutely, this is really incredible.
that's the another thing I'll say is that, this is a common perception because I think a lot of people feel like, "Oh, I've seen that," or "Oh, I get it from the pictures or the video." But
Hmm.
there's different levels of discovering nowhere. There's one looking at it and go like, "Oh, that looks cool." There's the next level of jumping in with somebody else like we are right now, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's cool." And then there's a whole other level when you get in here during an event, and you can
Okay.
like meet people and see a performance and start to go down the rabbit hole of like entertainment.
I'm gonna celebrate some of my YouTube subscriber milestones by bringing my
Yeah.
fans, my viewers in here. I can't wait. Like I'm already planning the details in my mind. I want to be able to see their faces because usually it's a one-sided experience for me, right? Like I have my I'm on a camera, I have a microphone, and they can see me and they can they can have that one-sided experience. But I'm when I look around, I just see my basement. I see
Yeah.
my computer and that's fine, but I don't see them. I just see what I'm doing. And to
Yep.
be able to have that connection with those individuals who I believe, desire the same in return,
Hmm.
I just makes the
And
hair on my arm stand up. It's
there's also something that happens too within we've been in this, this user generated content era, right?
oh
Of
yeah,
you're a
big time.
YouTube, you're
Hmm.
creating YouTube videos, but it's pretty much a one to many, thing where you're not interacting as much, maybe on chat, but um now you have an experience where you can actually have the social mingling around that. You can have a many to many experience, then you can jump into a many one to many experience and then go back to the social mingling. So it's actually much more structured like you would go to see a concert.
Yes.
You'd arrive with your friends early, you'd get a beer, you'd hang out, you'd talk, you might meet a few people. Concert would start, and then you'd all watch the concert, enjoy it, and then you'd go back to hanging out and talking. You might do a Q&A with the musician, and all of that's possible now that you have a spatial platform
It's
where you can
incredible.
have the mingling part. So
I think this is the future. I think this is the way, and I think it's safe. To be a big creator, there is that aspect of yeah. Do I want to have a Q&A at the mall? Absolutely. Do I want to
yeah.
get mobbed by 50 people and catch current trending viruses? Not really. And
There
that's a
you go.
struggle for so many people. And this is the kind of thing where you can be in a safe space. We can all stay in a place that makes us feel comfortable, but then be out there and be social and to experience what the world has to offer in a way that you might not have ever imagined.
Yeah.
So
And
thank you.
the last thing I'll say is we just launched a partnership with Cirque,
Okay.
which is a new Web3 fan bundle platform that allows essentially artists and musicians to create a fan bundle, which is essentially going back to the days when fans would actually pay for an album.
Yeah.
So it gets the artist a direct revenue. They get something that's really special. Think of like a deluxe album, right? An old LP with
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah. Opening
and
up the leaflet there and
exactly. And part of that purchase gets you access to your nowhere world where it's gated by the NFT that you've bought.
yeah, just
So
like a
then,
ticket to the event.
exactly. And that I think is going to be really exciting for any artists that are listening, to be able to go and sell an album again and bring in that type of revenue and have a
Yeah.
space that you gain access as a fan to be interacting right there with the artist live.
That's so cool. That's so cool. If there's anything I can ever do for you guys to help you out along this journey, if you ever, need somebody who wants to be excited about hosting some event or doing some kind of thing, John, I'd love to be involved, not just
You're on.
beyond this conversation, which I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you meeting me here. I mean, I've set up a few conversations, and this was the lowest friction team to communicate with. That to me is always
Nice.
a really good sign. Hello, how are you? We're great. Yep, let's do it. Have a nice day. That was it. Didn't have to have a 27 email exchange. I really
Yeah, we
appreciate
don't need
that. No,
that.
no, getting work done. So yeah, I thank you so much, sir, for your time and for sharing this incredible experience of youarenowhere.com with me today.
Thank you, Matthew. It was a pleasure chatting.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you just want to give me some feedback, or especially if you're interested in being interviewed or you know an excellent interview candidate for a future upcoming episode, anything really to do with the metaverse, I'm looking for broad-reaching subjects that we can bring together a vast body of knowledge and information and experience. So contact me via Gmail, ExploringTheMetaverseTogether@gmail.com. That's one word, ExploringTheMetaverseTogether@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, thank you so much for listening.